Okay, so the question is, what do you do if you sprain your ankle? What if you get a bee sting? What if you get a headache? What if you get a cold? Okay. Now, I'd like to backtrack before I answer that, hold that question in abeyance, and I want to tell you all the good things about the surgery before I tell you the bad. Okay? We hope to get massive weight loss from each one of you here today. 100, 200 pounds, you know. Maybe not 100. We expect to cure diabetes in many patients, cure high blood pressure, cure sleep apnea, decrease osteoarthritis and give people the opportunity to walk and play again with family and friends. We expect that those changes in decrease in cholesterol and high blood pressure and sleep apnea, that it's going to change your probability of dying, that we're going to lengthen your life by 10 or 20 years and give you a longer life that's healthier and more enjoyable, so the quality of your life is going to be better. Sounds pretty good to start off with, right? But like every therapy, there's a downside. Okay, there's a risk. The biggest risk, say it with me, is ulcers or gastritis after the surgery. Okay? If you take an aspirin tablet, you may know some people take aspirin tablets to help protect them from a heart attack. They take a baby aspirin every day. If you take an aspirin, a baby aspirin every day, 6% of patients in England who take a baby aspirin every day had GI bleeding. 6% of patients, not quite 1 in 10. In our patients, if you have the mini-gastric bypass and I get rid of your diabetes and your high blood pressure and your high cholesterol and protect you from heart attack and do all those good things, I'm going to have some risks, I'm going to have some complications that go along with that. And the biggest risk, the biggest complication is gastritis or an ulcer. Okay? And we need to tell you that, and then tell you that, and tell you that. And the reason I need to tell you that is because a lot of people get these other benefits. They say, my diabetes is gone, my blood pressure is gone, I'm thin, I'm healthy, I'm walking better, I got rid of my walker, this is wonderful, I'm normal. That's not the deal. I do not have normality to offer. I have a lot of good things to offer, but it's a trade, it's not a gift. And what you're trading for the high blood pressure and no heart attack and no stroke and no diabetes and all those other benefits we hope for is this increased risk of getting an ulcer. Okay? Now we know about this increased risk, and we know some ideas on how to help prevent it and how to treat it. So I want to say that in many ways it's like driving a car. If you drive a car, you get all the benefits of driving a car. You can go here whenever you want to. You don't have to wait for a bus. You don't pay for a cab. You just get in your car and drive. But the risk is you can be in a car wreck. Okay? And I know I can be in a car wreck, so I do some preventive things. I don't drink and drive if I'm wise. I wear my seatbelt. I look both ways. I come to a complete stop. You know, all the things to protect yourself from a car wreck. Because you have the car doesn't mean you can go anywhere and do anything. If you get it in your head that you can go the opposite way on the interstate against traffic, what do you think is going to happen? Complications. This surgery is like giving you a car. And we know what can happen. We know there's a wreck that can happen with the MGB, and it's called ulcer and gastritis. And we also know how to protect against that. Okay, what are the things? No alcohol, no cigarettes, right? Eat a healthy diet. Okay? Eat some yogurt with the good bacteria. Take your Tums, which is a calcium antacid. Okay? Avoid those things that cause ulcers, like, back finally to your question, anti-inflammatory medicines. Because aspirin, Motrin, Aleve, those things cause ulcers. You put ulcers, my surgery, and aspirin together, you've got a bleeding ulcer and you've got problems. So we're saying don't do that. Okay. Now, if you have a headache, what should you do? If you have a swollen ankle, what should you do? If you have a bee sting or a sunburn, what should you do? Well, in a perfect world, you go to the grocery store and use those anti-inflammatories. We recommend you tough it out. that you don't do that, that it's unwise to do that, that it's dangerous to do that because of ulcers, and that you take my name in vain. Oh, that son of a gun, Dr. Rutledge, I'm suffering from this sunburn, I'm suffering from this paper cut, I'm suffering from the bee sting. And you say, ooh, that son of a gun, instead of taking a handful of aspirin. Okay? Now, we know that some people drive their car without a seatbelt. We know that some people don't look both ways when they come to a stop sign. We know that some people drink and drive. And we also know that sometimes they get away with that, and sometimes they get killed in a car crash. We're telling you, do your best to avoid taking that aspirin so you don't get in a car crash. We don't want you to get an ulcer. Now, let's suppose that not just a bee sting, not just a little bit of a sunburn, not just a headache, but you're shot with a gun. You're dropped out of a building and you fall 10 stories and break your pelvis. Okay? In that case, our recommendation is narcotics. Because narcotics don't cause ulcers. So serious pain, well, you can use serious pain medicine. But all the little minor aches and pains at home in the coming years, we recommend that you think twice about taking aspirin and things like that. Because you're going to have an MGB. And the MGB causes ulcers. I can just tell you like a friend, if you take aspirin, some people are going to get ulcers. If you have the MGB, some people get ulcers. And our rate of ulcers is very similar to aspirin. It's around 5%. Okay? You don't want an ulcer, I guarantee it. And we know how to protect against it. You don't want to be in a car crash, right? All right? So there are things you should do. Okay? Don't drink and drive. Wear your seatbelt. Be careful when you drive. Don't speed. You know, all those things, right? Same way with the MGB. All of our advice is to protect you so that you have this kind of good experience and get the benefits of driving the car without being in a crash. Does that kind of answer that? Mm-hmm. Does this seem like a fair trade?
Yeah.
But it is a trade, and we want to make you aware of that. We don't want you to buy the car and get home and find out there's this big thing we didn't tell you about. It's very important for us to emphasize, we know the biggest complication of our surgery. It's called an ulcer. It's called a marginal ulcer because it happens right at the connection between the stomach and the bowel. We have known about it in my surgery and this kind of surgery for over 100 years. It is a complication just like aspirin gets ulcers, and we know in general how to avoid it and how to prevent it. And pay attention to our advice on this because you don't want this. And remember, 3 or 4 years from now, when this morning is going to be fading in your memory, you know, think of high school. Can you remember high school? Okay. Do you remember your English teacher from 9th grade? Okay. You're going to begin to forget me and my advice too. A couple of years from now, when you're thin and healthy and enjoying life, my advice this morning is going to begin to fade. Don't let this fade. Remember this. If you remember a couple of things from high school, it's good for you, right? Remember this. The MGB doesn't mean you get to be normal. It means just like taking an aspirin every day, you're facing the risk of an ulcer. Now in return, we think the benefits outweigh that risk. But pay attention, don't drink and drive. And we recommend don't take aspirin or Motrin with your MGB.